What is up, Buckeye Nation? Back with my good friend Jay Stevens. It's almost like he never left. And so, um, guys, we just discussed. Jay and I discussed what's going on with USC, UCLA coming in the Big Ten. What it means for college football and Ohio State at large. Today, we're going to go bring it more to the heartland a little bit. And again, Ohio State football with Scarlet N Great here on YouTube. Please like and subscribe. It helps the algorithm, helps us grow. Get us to 5,000 subscribers if you can. We'd love you. We'd appreciate you for that before the season starts. We're going to talk today about CJ Stroud's successor. Now, we know CJ Stroud is the man. And I know I'm going to get comments right now. Go ahead and comment. Hey, you wanted him benched after week 3. You were tired of him. That's fine. Hit me for it. I'll own it. If you didn't see him in that Tulsa game and want him to at least take a look at the other quarterback,
Buddy, that was bad. That was bad.
that was ugly. And if he's injured, then Ryan Day needed to not play him. I'll put it this way: he was sat out 1 week, then he was healed. So whatever. I don't think he was as injured as what people thought he was. I think Ryan Day said us in a press conference. He needed to decide whether or not this is what he wanted to do. This is what he wanted, and he decided that. And he decided it in big ways. Now CJ still has a lot to prove. I'll admit. And he's got to beat Michigan. Got to go win a Big Ten title. We think he can do all that. I'm confident he can do that. I'm confident he has a Woody Hayes-sized chip on his shoulder. He's ready to prove the world that he is the number one pick in next year's draft. Think about that, by the way, Jay. Next year, after the draft, Ryan Day will have 3 consecutive quarterbacks in the first round. So, did you ever think you'd hear that at Ohio State?
No, not at all.
So anyway, but we're here to talk. We know CJ is the man. We know that he is the dude. He is the leader of the Ohio State offense. Who's the next leader? That's the interesting because we're loading up on these big time quarterbacks. Kyle McCord, Devin Brown, Dylan Raiola is now in the mix. He hasn't signed yet, but once he's here, he figures to be a factor. Obviously, I would never say a freshman's going to come in and beat out all these guys unless it's Braxton Miller, Joe Bowserman. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, where the talent difference is pretty obvious. But these 3 guys are really, really good. Jay, I know we've only seen a little bit of Devin Brown, and we've seen Kyle McCord a little bit more. Right now, who would you say is a favorite to be that next guy after CJ, following CJ's footsteps?
Well, Corey, I'm glad to be back here with you here on Scarlet N Great on YouTube. And I'm going to focus on the 2 guys that are here. I'm not going to talk about Raiola because John Garcia, who comes on my show, Sports Illustrated, kind of put a little nugget out there even before Raiola committed that we could see something happen, but I won't mention that now.
Gotcha.
My first thing about these 2 quarterbacks is right now they're kind of even. And it's kind of weird to say that about a guy who's been here for a year in McCord and a guy who just got on campus in Devin Brown. But when you haven't seen either really play much, you saw him play in the spring game recently, McCord last year in the spring game, McCord a little bit last year.
Yeah, with Akron, yeah.
But you didn't really get much where it's like this guy is the next guy.
Mm-hmm.
And assuming Stroud comes out after this season, which I think everybody believes he does, you got to think right now. You got to think right now.
Barring injury, which I'm going to go ahead and knock on some wood there.
Due to experience, I got to go with the upper hand of McCord, but I really don't know. And I'm just, you say, Jay, why aren't you definitive about that? Because I don't know. And I'd rather be honest with you and say I don't know instead of making a statement and be like, well, I'm not sure, but I'm going to make this statement. And so if I'm not, like, I just want to be concrete and say I am really uneasy about these 2 quarterbacks. Not because I don't think they're talented. I have not seen enough to simply say McCord's above Brown or Brown's above McCord. And I'm normally not a guy that's going to say an incoming freshman is someone that's going to be right on par with someone that's been on campus for a year. But based off what I've seen, that's what I got. I'm only going with McCord based off experience and time at Ohio State. That is it.
Yeah, and experience and time is one thing, but the fact that McCord can combine that with being a legitimately talented quarterback is another thing. Yeah, because if it was, like I said, go back to Joe Bowserman. Like, Joe Bowserman's been here 4 years. Devin Brown's only been here for a spring. I'd still go with Devin Brown.
Yeah.
I like them both a lot. I really do. I think we got a great string of quarterbacks. I like Devin Brown's personality a lot. I think he shows it a little bit more on Twitter. I like what he said about Quinn Ewers. He says, I wish Quinn was still here. I wanted to compete with him. I love that mentality. That's what you need in your quarterback. It's like, I don't care. I'll take on everybody. Brett Favre was my first ever favorite quarterback, and that dude just refused to lose. I mean, not that he had never lost, but he sometimes throws 6 picks losing. But, that's a guy who just had that moxie about him. You need to have that if you're going to be a championship quarterback. Sometimes that's what I questioned in CJ a little bit last year, but I think CJ
Mhm.
really answered the bell when he came against Utah. It's like, okay, this dude refuses to let us lose, no matter how bad the defense played. I mean, granted they played better in the second half, but that's another story. I like what I saw at Devin Brown in the spring game because he just has that. I'm going to throw it. I don't
Yeah.
care.
Yeah.
It's like there could be double covers or I know I can get the ball there. I love that confidence. I don't always see that with McCord. Not to say McCord's not confident. I think he's a great kid. I think he's got a great amount of talent. I actually like him a lot. I thought he played pretty good in the Akron game. Not perfect, but pretty good. He's got a great arm too. People underestimate that. But I like Devin Brown's kind of like challenge the secondary attitude. I love a quarterback like that. I love the Aaron Rodgers of the world. I love those Pat Mahomes of the world, Josh Allen's of the world, who just I will challenge any spot on the field. But Ken, who's known as Nevada Buck from Buckeye Scoop, said Devin Brown's probably going to be the next guy. So I'm going with Kyle McCord on this one. Um, I'm just gonna go ahead and just like let's just do the opposite of what that guy said and say Kyle will probably be the starter. I bet it's a situation where they're kind of even, like you said, but Kyle kind of gets the nod because of seniority and because there's not. I don't think Kyle's gonna do anything to lose the job.
No, no.
So I think it comes that we go into the season and Kyle all of a sudden is the starter, but he's kind of on a short leash. Like, remember, we got this dude here. If you're not performing, I'll yank it, and we got Devin Brown to come in. Now Ryan Day's not known to do that, but I have a feeling that's like, well, we're gonna kind of go into the season and kind of like almost like a JT Cardale situation where they were so close. You're like, what do you do? And I actually think Kyle will end up getting the nod to be the guy. And everybody automatically assumes Devin would just transfer. I don't necessarily agree with that.
No.
Because I think Kyle would only be the starter for 1 year. I mean, whoever's going to be a talented quarterback in Ryan Day's offense, if you were eligible to leave after, you're going to take it.
Yeah.
Dwayne Haskins did it.
Yeah.
So rest in peace, Dwayne. But I mean, it's like I actually think you can convince Devin, like, look, just sit 1 more year. You're going to make NIL money and be developed by one of the best staffs in the country. We're going to prepare you for the NFL as well as anybody. So look, we got 3 guys drafted in the first round. Kyle's probably going to go first or second round. I don't know what Kyle's projection will be, but he's got the talent to be a first rounder for sure. Just sit tight, just sit tight for a year. So, I mean, what do you tell a quarterback like Devin Brown, Jay? If say that Kyle becomes a starter, and you say, what do you tell Devin? Like, hey, dude, just stick around. How do you convince him of that? Because guys just want to drop everything and leave at the drop of a hat these days.
So I don't think that Devin Brown, I think it's going to be an easy conversation for Ryan Day if there's a conversation where it's like, stick around, like, don't go anywhere. We got big plans for you. McCord's ahead of you right now. You're growing. You're showing us some promise, but stick around. Like, when you get on the field, we know you're going to do big things based off your progression at Ohio State. You mentioned a name that was there at Ohio State, which many thought was still going to be at Ohio State this year, in Quinn Ewers. And the thought was whoever comes in after Ewers, once Ewers is here and even after Ewers, you're competing not just with Quinn Ewers, but with McCord and even Jack Miller III and Stroud, which is going to be gone. But you're going to be competing with all these guys going into the 2023 season to simply be the starter. And I think Devin Brown knew coming in, he is going to have to compete. Is it going to be easy? Ohio State is not like other schools in the country. And so the thought of competition, I don't think he's shying away from it. So I think once Ryan Day, I believe he's going to have kind of like that conversation like, McCord's our starter. Hopefully you stay. Don't go anywhere. Don't transfer. We have big things for you. I think Devin Brown's going to be really receptive and accepting of that conversation and saying, well, okay, like my plan here was to come here and compete. It's Ohio State. You got to come in here and compete. And if you don't compete, you won't get on the field. And competing in practice, competing every single day is going to make you the best starting quarterback when it's your time on the field. And so I don't really think it's going to be a bad conversation because I do believe Brown expected to compete and to work harder than he's ever worked to simply get on the field at Ohio State. And then Corey worked even harder to keep his starting job.
Yeah, and what scares me a little bit, and look, I think Devin's a little different. I hope he is. I hope I'm right about that. But it scares me a little bit. The mentality of today's athlete is just, oh well, I'm not playing right now. Let's just leave. It's just so easy to up and leave now. I mean, as soon as you enter the transfer portal, schools are just banging down your door because they know you're a talented guy. They're from quarterback from Ohio State. Look what happened with LSU. We want that. We want to get that similar situation here. Um, it's just a little bit like nowadays what we're gonna have to do is pony up. The school's gonna have to get involved with the NIL and say, look, we'll get you these deals. These you can make $2-3 million just sitting on the bench here, and you can be developed by the best staff. But and then it becomes a determination of what's their desire to play or not, because you're not going to play this year. You're going to be playing mop up duty unless Kyle McCord just completely falters. So I mean, it's just one of those. It's such a weird dynamic. As I understand why coaches are lashing out about it today. That the level of commitment and competition is just not what it once was, because it really isn't. I mean, people just up and leave if the situation's not perfect for them. And everybody we mask that by saying, well, kids got to do what's best for him, and I'm okay with that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying kids shouldn't do what's best for them, but I'm like, really, you're not starting immediately and you leave. I mean, come on. It used to be FSU for the longest time. I think Bobby Bowden's era. I think they went like 20 years with not having anybody lower than a junior status start until Chris Ricks. I remember that Chris Ricks was like a redshirt freshman starting, and it was like that was totally abnormal. Like, wow, holy smokes. Nowadays, if they're a redshirt freshman, like, I've been here a year, man. It's time for me to play. Really? Is it? Because it used to be harder to transfer. It used to be like, the system was more geared towards incentivizing you to stick it out and work it out. It doesn't always work for you. And I get there's kids who get lost in the shuffle and they just never works for them, and they just whatever, they don't respond as well. And if they would have left for a change of scenery, probably been better off for them. But I hope Devin's not one of those. I hope he's like, no, I'm here to compete. I'm here to stick it out. Because I know his coach was Joe Germain in high school. So I mean, Joe's obviously bragged up Ohio State to him most likely. And I'm sure, and being coached by Corey Dennis and Ryan Day is obviously like just mind blowing. Like, look at this. Ryan Day's reputation as a QB guru right now is just out of this world. So it's almost like he's a celebrity on campus. So I'm hoping all of that will keep Devin Brown in play, because I don't want to keep losing talented guys, just because they can't start right away.
Well, think about this, though. You think about the transfer conversation, and I'm going to say a little hypothetical. I've heard nothing about these talks at all. But at some point, you do believe Corey Dennis is not going to be at Ohio State for the next 5 years. Like, is he going to be comfortable being a QB coach at Ohio State for the next 5 years? I don't know. I know Brian Hartline has said on Twitter he's turned down jobs where people want him to be an OC or a head coach. He's just like, I just turned down
There's
jobs.
no doubt mid-tier programs have offered him head coaching jobs.
Well, at some point, Corey Dennis might be like, well, can I be an OC somewhere? Like, I'm developing these quarterbacks at Ohio State. Like, we get all caught up in Ryan Day, which we should. He's a great quarterback coach. But the quarterback coach at Ohio State is literally Corey Dennis, and you have to factor in Kevin Wilson's impact on their development as well, the OC at Ohio State. At some point, you got to wonder, will there be a quarterback that transfers out of Ohio State when Corey Dennis gets a new job because they want to follow him? And Corey Dennis is like, look, I'm going to go be the OC at X school. You could be QB1 at X school if you follow me. Now, it will be kind of, you may say, Jay, it's weird. It's weird if he does that. This is college football. Yeah. People do weird things. Sorry, this is life. People do weird things all the time. And so maybe Devin Brown is that guy where it's like he's developed such a tight relationship and connection with Corey Dennis. Let's just say hypothetically, at the end of the year, Corey Dennis gets an OC job at a G5 school, and Devin Brown follows him. Would it be crazy to think that? No. I mean, it's crazy now. It's also crazy for Quinn Ewers to decide, less than a month before the start of fall camp, I'm going to go to Ohio State. Like, that was crazy as well. So crazy things are happening, but that could easily happen, Corey, where Devin Brown's like, well, I'm not going to be the guy here at Ohio State. McCord's ahead of me. How about I follow Corey Dennis, who I have a connection with, and be QB1 at a G5 school, start right away, and then play very well, and eventually have a chance to play in the NFL. That could happen.
Yeah, I could definitely see Corey Dennis becoming the OC at like a place like Cincinnati under Luke Fickell. And then Devin Brown saying, I could start and I could get drafted from Cincinnati. I can play in the playoff. They're in the Big 12 now. It's like there's no reason I can't thrive there and still stay in Ohio. So it's just, I mean, I agree with that. I mean, it's not crazy to think about. And Corey Dennis is probably he's like, what, 27, 28 years old right now? I mean, he's probably being groomed to be a play caller. I'm sure Ryan doesn't want to lose him. Obviously, he offered him the job when he got offered it by Colorado State. He said, no, Corey, come here. Your sitch is gone. You can be the QB coach now. And honestly, I think we're better off for that. But Anyway, last word on this, Jay. So you're kind of undecided, but I'm gonna put you on the spot and make a call. Who's gonna be the guy?
McCord. I'll go
McCord.
with McCord. I'll go with McCord. Not just experience, but I think the growth that I saw from him in the spring game, the little I take it with a grain of salt because it is a practice. But from the growth I saw, literally from the spring game, from what we saw during the season, from last year's spring game, I do think we'll see that growth and progression, steady growth, steady progression, and really filling out of his body and getting stronger and physically fit. I do think it's McCord's job once Stroud is gone.
Tell them where they could find you, Jay.
Follow me on Twitter at jstevens07. Check out Locked On Buckeyes every Monday through Friday. Then also the Jay Stevens podcast once a week, normally coming out on Mondays. Just football is almost here, and I'm excited for it.
Absolutely, guys. And comment who you think is going to be the next guy. Well, whomever it is. If you think Brett Favre's coming out of retirement, I don't care. Who you think is going to be the next guy? Just let me know in the comments. Let us know if we're stupid for who we think it's going to be. It's like, no way it's going to be Kyle McCord. Let us know. And you can go ahead and pick on me for wanting CJ Stroud to benched after the Tulsa game. I'm owning it. It was not the correct call, obviously. That's why I'm not paid $7, $8, $9 million a year to be the head coach. Anyway, guys, appreciate you all. As always, goodbye. God bless. And go Bucks.